lot of what our channel is about is how to make money with plants in either your retirement or as a side hustle. And I think we need to sort of tell people how that really works, because maybe they don't know. So some of the ways that you can do that are,
you can buy seedlings from a grower. They're bare root seedlings, and you plant them as you get them. Or you can go to the Home Depot and buy half-price plants, and then even make
propagate.
Propagate and make soap. And that's free money, right? Because you bought a half-price plant and you're propagating, and then all that's cash.
Yep, it's all gravy after the end. You can also be someone who just roots plants. You might have large plants on your property and you just take cuttings, root those, and those are the people that we buy a lot of rooted cuttings from. They just grow rooted cuttings, sell them to other people. And then, so we're basically what you might call a finish grower. So somebody usually starts what we finish, and then we would grow a plant to a given size, but you could grow them larger or smaller. I mean, it's just a matter of 2-3 years with a plant, growing it out to make it its best, and get it to a saleable size that people want to buy. People really don't want to buy small plants. They want to buy larger things.
We've also learned a little bit along the way. So we've bought teeny tiny things. We've bought mid-sized things. We've bought large things. And it really pays to buy a mid-sized thing. Rather than the small things are very fragile. So we've learned things along the way. You know, it's all trial and error in the beginning.
It is, and you know, this is the way we do things, not the way everybody needs to do them. It's just what's been working for us, and we certainly have made some huge mistakes. We definitely found that the smaller rooted cuttings are more fragile, and if you lose half of them, and they take twice as long to grow, what's your return on investment on that proposition? But we do also propagate and root some of our own cuttings, so we're trying to do a little bit of everything.
Do you want to hear about one of our mistakes? We put all our plants down without a weed mat down first. And then we watched all the weeds come up all around the plants. And we had to move all the plants, put a weed mat down, and now they're all secure on top of that mat.
It's amazing how many weeds can come up between the little tiny gaps and virtually cover all your plants. So
a lot of it's trial and error.
Yeah, that was difficult. One thing that's great about plants, though, is they do appreciate pretty quickly. I mean, you could look at, if we're talking about retirees or people who have some extra time and money, and you're looking to get a return on your investment, plants do appreciate very quickly. I mean, if you were to buy a stock and it were to double in 2 or 3 years, that would be amazing. You would want to do that all day long. Stocks don't typically do that, and you have to wait years for them to double. Of course, you don't really have to do any work, but you've got that time of having to own many stocks, hope some of them double. Plants are pretty predictable. So, you put a plant in a pot. We don't grow anything in the ground. We only grow in pots because we don't want to disturb the ground, and that's a lot more work. So, how long does it take us to grow an already 4-year-old Norway spruce that's 20 to 24 inches to 36 inches?
Take 1 to 2 years.
Right. So it's, and you're talking about a $2.50 plant if you buy them by the 100, $1 pot, 50 cents in fertilizer and dirt, and then we sell them for
$30.
$30, and people are kind of desperate to get them at that size, because most people grow them out to like 5 feet tall, and then they're $100. So the appreciation factor with plants is pretty amazing, and you have to kind of get over the fact that some are going to die, they're not all going to live. If you're getting 95% that live, you're doing fantastic. Right? I mean, we certainly, if you haven't killed 1,000 plants, as they say, you're really not.
And then you know what not to buy. It's all trial and error. Okay, that was a mistake, but we learned, and now we're not buying that variety anymore.
And we have a particular sun-shade issue where we don't have as much sun as we'd like to have for certain plants, so we're trying to stay to the ones that need a little less sun. Sometimes plants grow a little slower if they don't get enough sun.
We've also realized the size of the pot is, when you're standing over a table for a whole weekend and you're, working with 5-gallon pots, like I personally couldn't even lift them.
So we've moved over here out of the rain because it's begun to rain. That's why we're not working in the yard today or on the nursery, because that's what we are oftentimes doing. So to talk a little bit more as plants as an investment, so on our website you can see a little chart that talks about taking $1,000 what kind of a return you could get on that in a 1, 2, 3 year period. Taking plants, selling some off as small to get your initial investment back, then waiting 2 years to grow them out to a decent size, and then letting some get a little bigger into your third. And then of course the $1,000 would become about $4,600 in profit, plus your $1,000 back in a pretty short amount of time.
That's pretty good.
It's a nice investment. Don't know any stocks like that for you retirees who are living off a stock portfolio. And then the other thing is too is you would keep replanting every year.
Yes.
So as soon as you get your money back, or even maybe beforehand, you start to invest again.
Right.
And you're always planting the future crops out. Mostly 2 and 3 years out.
Yeah.
So we did some testing and started to plant a few years back. And we wanted to see if we could test some of our what we thought were then at the time skills, which now we've determined really weren't. But of course, you learn a lot as you go.
Yes.
There's nothing like doing it yourself and learning by doing and watching other people and reading. So, but then we were successful. So we grew some plants. They were doing fine. We could see them growing. Working out just perfectly, and we said, well, what if we invested $5,000 or $10,000, which we were able to do. So we have money saved for retirement, but we could divert some of that towards our plant investment and say, what would the return be? And it's infinitely greater than if you were to buy a portfolio of stocks.
Exactly.
So to just some quick math, if you wanted to generate $20,000 a year in retirement, if you used the 4% rule, you would need almost $500,000
Wow.
saved at 4% would get you $25,000 a year reliably. Of course, with no work, but we kind of welcome the work as a little bit of exercise.
And we're doing it together.
And we're doing it together.
It's fun.
We really enjoy it. It's something that we always wanted to do. So, with the larger investment, of course, the scale of our nursery's grown quite a bit, and we plan to keep growing it a little bit. We haven't retired yet, but plan to in the next few years. And once we are ready, we'll have a large amount of plants growing.
I guess one thing not to get discouraged about is, and you've mentioned this before, if you have a smaller piece of land, just start. Just start with the size that you have, the most you can invest, and the greatest amount of room you can spare, and just get going. Right. We happen to have a lot of land and more room, and that's what we did. But like anything is a good thing.
Right, and you mentioned the 1, 3, and 5 gallon size containers. Maybe you don't want to pick up a 5 gallon container. It's pretty heavy. I don't mind doing some of them that way, but 10 years from now I might mind.
Yes.
And I may say this is a little too big, and we scale back to just 1 and 3 gallon sizes.
I'm definitely a 1 gallon girl.
Right. And so there's lots of people that grow things in 2-quart containers up to 1 gallon. They grow smaller plants. I don't think that should hold anybody back. You have to grow a lot more plants to make the same amount of money with a smaller plant.
True.
But they do tend to grow faster and turn over sooner. So there's a plus side of that too.
Yes,
so since a lot of our audience might be retirees who might be concerned about the quantity of work, or can they really move all these plants around and
there
make
is a
money
lot of
doing
physical
it?
labor involved.
Yeah, and the container size is one big component of it, but many people have either friends at church, children, grandchildren, who would love to make a little extra money on these big push days when we get 500 plants in boxes that need to go into pots.
Yes.
And it's pull them out, keep them wet, trim the roots, get them in the pots, get them out into our growing area. And those are big days. So we don't always have help, but on a lot of occasions we have had help.
Yes.
And it makes a big difference. You pay somebody $10, $15, $20 an hour for an 8-hour day. It's not really that much money. It does kind of increase your investment.
Exactly.
But you get a lot more done. I think our record is probably 800 plants potted in a weekend, which was pretty ambitious.
That was a rough weekend.
We don't know always when the plants will arrive, and sometimes it's
cold and snowy.
And sometimes we click and buy more than we can handle. But we do like to kind of push ourselves a little bit.
Yes.
Too. So
definitely.
that does work well. So maybe to summarize, making plants as a partial retirement income, I don't think that I ever want to rely totally on it unless it had been my livelihood.
It's not for everybody.
Right, but making some side income for most people, or a retirement supplementary income, it really adds up to a lot. You don't have to grow a lot of plants to make $10,000 a year. Our plans are for more than that, but we tend to be towards the ambitious side, and it may become too much. We're early 60s here yet, and got a lot of energy, but that may fade off as time goes by.
And like you said, if that ever happens, we just sell off our plants.
Right.
Like it's a win-win, really.
It's a good point, because you've got this like 2-3 year startup period. Then you've also got a 2-3 year wind down period where you stop planting new plants and just sell what you have.
Yeah.
So for us, with the longer growing cycles of the woody plants and trees, we're always going to have a couple, 2-3 years of some income left without doing all the planting.
Yeah, and if we had to sell our house for some reason, I mean, we could just sell off all our plants.
Right.
Probably still at a profit, because
absolutely.
I don't know. It's a win-win. You really, I don't see a downside to this.
And just to go over a couple ways that we didn't mention that people make plants. I mean, I have run into some people selling plants on Facebook Marketplace who literally order in seedlings. They quickly have a bunch of friends throw 1,000 of them in a pot, and they paid $2 for the plant, $1 maybe at the most for the pot, and a little bit of dirt, and then they sell those plants for $10 or $12 immediately.
Yeah.
People that sell online, there's a lot of people that will sell. I know we know a lot about blue spruce and Norway spruce trees. They're literally just buying them by the 100 from the grower, and they're selling them off 5 and 10 at a time on eBay and Marketplace.
Yeah.
They're paying $2 per plant, and they're selling you 5 of them for $30, and there's some shipping costs for them. But they're more than doubling their money on those things, and that's just another way. You wouldn't even need a yard to do something like that.
That's true.
Again, people that just are good at rooting plants. I mean, there's some plants that are really hard to root, like rhododendrons. We have not yet successfully rooted a rhododendron, and we keep trying, and so we have to buy them as rooted.
And some stuff you just stick it in the ground and it happens.
Right. Forsythia, it would be easy, and maybe you probably couldn't sell those rooted cuttings. But if you were good at rooting rhododendrons, you could sell them pretty easily, and they sell for a pretty good amount of money.
Yeah.
So there's all different ways you could make money with plants. What we do is what we do. What you choose to do is something else. There's a lot of resources available online and YouTube. We follow a bunch of people who grow plants online.
And they've really helped us too.
And they've been very helpful. And
hopefully we're helping you too.
Yep. And so we're just trying to add our little piece of the puzzle and show you what we do. So thanks for watching. It's been great.
Thanks, everybody.
We'll have a little more for you pretty soon. Thanks.